Welcome to The Way for Paralegals with your hosts, Marisa Rua and Allison McKeen. This is the podcast for paralegals by paralegals and attorneys who believe that paralegals are the lifeblood of law firms and deserve a place to connect, grow, and engage. All right, let's dive into this episode.
Hey, Marissa.
Hey, Allison.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. So you were saying that you wanted to talk today about how to actually become a paralegal.
Yeah.
I thought it was something that you would take classes for, but I don't think that's really how it works. So tell me.
Yeah, I thought it was a good topic to discuss because just like how there's a lack of paralegal training in our community, there's also not a lot of resources on the paralegal, profession, really. It's if you don't work in the legal field already, it's kind of like how do you just become a paralegal?
How do you break into that?
I mean, you can go on Reddit and stuff. I'm sure there's stuff on there, but I think I just thought it would be good to give a little bit of advice for those out there maybe thinking about joining the legal field and not really knowing where to kind of get in.
So let's start with why might somebody want to become a paralegal? What is that job like?
It's okay. So depending on what practice area, definitely, but I find the job to be extremely rewarding. And I would say that in any, you know, area that excites you, I think is going to feel rewarding. But for me, being a paralegal, it's a at times challenging career, but it's also very rewarding of a career. And it's not the same thing every day. I think that's important. I am the type of person where I have to do something different. I cannot sit there and at a call center, and I've done it, and that's why I know I can't do it at a call center and just stare at a computer, wait for a phone, and then talk on the phone, and then hang up, and then repetitive work is just my brain burns out so quickly from doing things like that. So being a paralegal, it's something different every day.
There could be a lot of fires.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
could, there are generally the same things that you're going to do throughout the day, but it's never, you know, th- I have to sit at the front desk and schedule these people for appointments for the next 8 hours. It's fun. I like it. It's a fun
Yeah.
career.
Really, it's really detailed work. I think no matter what practice area you're in, you have to be very detail oriented and organized, preferably good with people, right? I don't know any areas where you're really not.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure maybe there are some where
Yeah.
you're really not working with people, but you're working with clients. So, okay, so it's rewarding. So how do you, if that resonates with somebody, how should they go about entering that profession?
So there's different approaches. Me personally, I started as a receptionist at a law firm and built my skills that way to then become transfer over into becoming a paralegal after a certain amount of time. I didn't start at the firm with that intent. And that's why I think it's like so hard to like find real good information on being a paralegal is because, well, I guess now with like social media and stuff, it's probably a little bit easier. Um, when I was looking, I found a receptionist job and then I was like, wow, I really like this. This is cool. Like what more can I do? What else is there that I'm at my level capable of?
What did you like? What were you doing?
So as reception, it was a small firm, so I also did some of the intakes after I was there for a little bit, getting comfortable with, terminology and understanding what really is a personal injury case and all of those things. So I then started taking some intake calls, and then that led into my boss coming and being like, "Hey, we want to move you over to being in a paralegal role, and we want you to do all of the records requests and medical records reviews." And I was like, cool. like, that's awesome. I was excited. So I moved from the front to a little cubicle. And that's where really my paralegal career started. I did all the records and reviews, so and requests. But if you're listening and you're interested in law firms and lawyers, and maybe you're young right now and you're not even out of high school and you're listening to this, I encourage you to look for those little jobs that could then develop into this career, and be honest at the interview that your intentions are, to then develop the skills to become a paralegal maybe at this firm, or if that's not something that they see, being in the future at their firm, you can take that knowledge that you've learned and experience and, start applying for maybe a legal assistant position somewhere else and see how far that can go, because if you really are interested in it, you'll go very far.
Yeah, I think back to when we had, so you started at the beginning of the client attorney relationship, and then you just progressed. So when you had mastered that early encounter, you progressed to the later encounters and ultimately in litigation after pre-lit. And I know that that's what people in our firm did too. But if somebody had come in as reception and said, I'm really interested in learning this and growing in this into a paralegal role, we would have been thrilled to have that person. That's amazing because we can give them more stuff to.
Exactly. And they'll probably learn it more quickly because of how interested they are in that career field. I mean, and if you're thinking of, well, I don't have a degree in this, or, I don't have a certificate. I know some states, I think they do require a certificate. Not certain what states those are, but I'm pretty sure. But, you know, I went to school for legal studies, and I will tell you, I learned nothing about what it is to actually be a paralegal.
So what did you do? What did you learn about instead?
Like, yes, we learned about, what is a tortfeasor, and we learned, common terminology, and, but it's not, I guess it's good if you want to kind of feel out the different practices of law, because, we had to write a essay on one of the criminal cases that was on the court docket at the time when I was in school. And learning about criminal law and then plaintiffs and litigation and all that, but I still have all of the PowerPoints that my professor sent to me. I still have them because I printed them and I would take notes on them from one of my classes. But it's really either a combination of education, school, and on the job training. So, if you're in a program right now, I would encourage you to also be at minimum, if you can't work full time, totally understand, but work a couple days at a law firm and get that in person experience, because if I didn't have that, I don't think I would be at the point I am right.
Yeah, it sounds like it's similar to how law school works, where you understand the basics, maybe the basic structure of the legal system, but there's really no substitute for actually going in and doing the work and learning in a practical way.
Right.
So I would also say that if you have done that kind of legal studies education, don't feel like you know everything. Don't be patient with yourself. There's a lot to learn. So be aware of that as well.
And the culture at a law firm is, very different than, I mean, unless you're working at a big corporate firm, but um, different from the real corporate type of world. I feel like it's a different level of community when you work with a great firm. I met my best friend, working at a law firm. And I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. You make a real difference for people. So I guess it's not necessarily a straightforward path, but so starting at the ground level is really
Yeah.
your best advice?
Yeah, I would, without very much experience, but I wouldn't discourage you from shooting for the stars and applying for that paralegal position if you don't have experience because y- there's a good chance that you could get it if it's the right firm that's willing to put in the time to to get you the training and send you to programs where you can learn more. So I definitely wouldn't discourage anyone if they have no experience to apply for that position because it could happen easily.
Law firms are always looking for good paralegals.
Yep.
Yeah. Smart cookies,
Yeah.
be paralegals.
And if you're listening to this and you don't already have my contact information, you can look up bestera.com and reach out to me or find me on LinkedIn because I'm happy to, give as much advice as I can. I have people on my LinkedIn all the time reaching out that are new paralegals looking for advice on what they should do. Is there material out there? So don't hesitate to send me a message if you.
Yeah. And tell us what else you want to hear about.
Right.
Like, what other aspects can
Yeah.
we talk about here that would be
Exactly.
helpful?
I think we've both been doing it for too long. That's like we kind of talk about the things that we think, are relevant right now that could definitely benefit. But there's probably so many things that people don't have the answers to that we don't know that they don't have the answers to.
Right. Right. I went to law school really not understanding the basics about how the legal system even worked, like what the difference between a federal and a state court was, and how laws existed, and what common law is. I mean, those are all things that we can talk about too.
Yeah. That's another great that reminded me not understanding the judicial system or the laws in your state. Here in Connecticut, we have a great judicial website that has tons of resources on it. So what I like to encourage, new paralegals that I'm training is if they have resources on your judicial site, go through them and use those like a training almost like read it like your Bible. There's steps on there to how to self-represent yourself. So if you think of it in that mindset, I'm somebody, a civilian that has no legal experience and I need to represent myself. They have the resource on there and they explain them exactly how to do the process. So it's another great way to kind of train yourself and get experience that way.
Yeah. It's just detailed work. It's just using the right form, filling out the right information, following the right rule. It's not necessarily rocket surgery.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Marissa.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Way for Paralegals. If you like what you heard, please follow, rate, and review the show. Until next time, keep being all that.